Hello, how are you? Nice to see you again. To see you, nice. Been super busy, so not really been able to cover anything quite like I wanted to. But GB News happened last night. It was launched. It's something that I've been excited about happening, not because I'm particularly excited for the show itself. I'm excited for what it stands for, which is something I think pretty significant. And it's either going to go by the wayside and just disappear, or it's going to stick around and become a legitimate challenge to the news organizations that already exist out there. The reviews are in, and they don't look good. So I will show them in a minute. I've just realized I haven't got them up, but I will get them up. GB News, for those who don't know, it's a British news channel. It's on Freeview, Freesat Sky, YouView, Virgin Media. It was launched on the 13th of June 2021, which was last night. The channel is not going to be a rolling news channel. That's the important thing they wanted to tell you. They said it was instead going to be a mix of news, analysis, opinion, and debate. They were going to talk about things that we were talking about rather than the things that the media wanted to talk about, which is very interesting. So I'm not quite sure. It sounds like a YouTuber's news channel, but the fact that it's headed up by Andrew Neil is interesting. Clearly a conservative, right-leaning, centrist to right. I don't know, right-leaning. I think it's obvious, especially because how he laughed when he was talking to Ben Shapiro, who claimed he was left-leaning. And that tells you that, Andrew Neil even regards himself as right-wing leaning. I hate all these terms, these labels. Labels. But doesn't stop there in terms of the conservative voices, because I kind of think that a lot of them are. One of the things with libertarians is they believe that they're not conservatives because they're down. I don't know, the crisscross of political spectrum. They think they're down at the bottom. I don't know. It always seems to be the same thing to me. You definitely get people who are don't like to be told by the government what to do. And that's a very libertarian angle to have. And you get that in Dan Wootton. And there are just some respectable newsreaders that they've brought in. Oh, and they've got, people like Tom Harwood, who's like, I would say, a conservative blogger. Lots of inexperienced people on the periphery. Lots of like regional people that I've never heard of before, come from regional places. And it's going to be really interesting watching what happens. I get it now, what the setup is, and it's not great. I'm going to go. Let's have a look at how the set looked. That's what we were. That's what we were greeted with. Look at that. It's a desk. It's a man behind a desk with black blinds behind him and one neon strip. I don't know what they were thinking. Oh, and dimly lit. And also, just out of curiosity, this is broadcast. I don't know what it's broadcast, at what resolution, but it's not HD. I don't even think it's 720. When I watch it on the big screen in the other room, just to check it, it was very blurry. Not just the cameras, but the text and the graphics were all blurry. So that tells me that it's being broadcast at a low resolution, which is interesting. I mean, these things must improve, and they will improve. But that set's terrible. That backdrop there is terrible. So let's have a quick listen, though, to how he sort of wanted to open the show.
Good evening. I'm Andrew Neil, and this is GB News.
So
It's 8 p.m. on Sunday, June the 13th, 2021. Welcome to the launch of GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm going to stop it there. Camera's slowly moving in there. I don't know why it is. Well, Okay, it can do it for once. The first thing I spotted was how roomy it sounds. It's not dead studio. Dead being like no reverberations of any walls. There's glass everywhere in this place. And he is talking out to also a big empty void of a room, a few cameras in it. For some reason, the lighting is very muted. And there's no zing to it. It doesn't. For me, it felt claustrophobic. And where's the daylight? This was shot while there's still daylight outside. And where are they? They're in a weird officey. I don't know where they are. It looks weird.
Channel dedicated to covering the news that matters to you and to giving a voice to those who felt sidelined or even silenced in our great national debates. Because if it matters to you, it matters to us. GB News will not slavishly follow the existing news agenda. We're not a rolling news channel, nor will we be providing conventional news bulletins. But on all of our programs and platforms, you'll always know what's going on and what the country is talking about.
For me, it looks very, very, very conventional. So the look is very conventional, old-fashioned. Mix this with what happened later on, which is just terrible, terrible technical problems. The audio there is low. It shouldn't be that low. And I've turned it up full. And I know it's just a video on YouTube that they've uploaded. But it's low. It was low, and it sounds roomy. And when they played the VTs, the audio was even lower, which was really distracting. They would go to like the weather, and as soon as he started telling you the weather, it would cut to adverts halfway through the weather report. It was kind of weird. So there's lots of little hitches like that. Watching it this morning, I started being a little bit more impressed by it because they were chilling out a bit. And they were getting. These guys people are being paired up. Let's have a look at how the website is kind of set up. So people are sort of paired up into programs. If I look at the schedule here, that's the 14th. And this advert block here, which is literally that there, by the way, is my Audible collection. No, it's not. It's what I was browsing on Audible the other day. So weird. Google ads. Don't like the Google ads on the website. It's a very sparse website they have. So here you can see you've got Brazier and Maroki, Di Piero and Halligan, McCoy and Phillips. So it's kind of like these three groups here. There's quite a lot of pressure on them to have, to bounce off each other and have charisma. When I watched Brazier and Maroki this morning, I kind of felt that they were talking over each other. Her nervousness interfered with his relaxedness, if you know what I mean. Whereas he was quite ready to just be chatty, or sometimes she wanted to press on to the next thing, and it was a little bit like that. I don't know what's... Gloria Di Piero, apart from being an MP, has also been a presenter for, I think it was Good Morning Britain at the time. So she's already well established and knows what she's doing. She was kind of a newsreader, I think. So they'll be on now. And these two have been earmarked as being very, very fun. But I'm seeing ties, I'm seeing jackets, suits, apart from Dan. Dan is the... he's the chilled out dude. Dan Wooten, I've always seen as being somebody who is sort of like a tabloidy style journalist, gossip journalist. He used to be on morning television on Lorraine doing the entertainment gossip. That's where I first became aware of him. Ex-Sun newspaper, I think. And disappointingly, when they had Lord Sugar, they were boasting about our big name for our opening show as Lord Sugar, who appeared on a web camera. And from where does he live? Is it Australia or somewhere? It's like, okay, that's your big star. All right, okay. So he came on and we immediately started abusing everything, especially the Sun. which Dan wouldn't have, which I thought was kind of disappointing. If they're going to have their talent on their show and the talent are defending certain news organizations, see, that can't happen. You're going to make some enemies. And already, just by the existence of the channel, I think they're all already making enemies. I was just going to do a quick search here for reviews, GB News reviews, and see what comes up. But there's two of note. And where's the other one? Was it the Independent? There you go. So these were two reviews that I saw were of note. 1 star, says little Stuart Jeffries there. There he is. Jacket and t-shirt. GB News review, Andrew Neil's alternative BBC. Utterly deadly stuff. 1 star. The anti-woke news channel had Andrew Neil and Alan Sugar, but no Piers Morgan. And the opening night felt like the funniest thing from appointment TV imaginable. I give it a year. Oh dear. And then you had over on the Independent. The whole channel is founded on false prospectus. GB News was a disaster from start to finish. Andrew Neil, who really should be on the BBC, criticised the other broadcasters for being echo chambers. They're not, as it happens, but GB News certainly is. These the journalists of the Guardian, Independent, and all the other news stations are basically going to be taking GB News as a criticism. So all these, whenever the journalists get together in their huddles, GB News are always kind of going to be ostracized a little bit because they're looking like they're criticizing their colleagues, and it won't be long before allegiances are made and they start falling in line. I hope that doesn't happen, but I would imagine it's quite hard for it not to happen. Settling down with a fruit shortcake and a nice cup of tea for the launch of GB News. Why is it these writers love to write about themselves initially? I admit I had feelings of foreboding. I wasn't disappointed. Indeed, they were exceeded. So he was afraid that it would be successful with the sounds of things. For an hour, Andrew Neil, out of sync, was he? But reading an elegantly written editorial laid out his tendacious agenda for the new rolling News Not News channel. Pretty much everything presented for our delectation, Sarky, was a reason not to flick past RT and Al Jazeera and tune in. Snobby. Neil told us there would be, snobby about their position on the channel listing thing, I think. Neil told us there wouldn't be any Fox News style rants and everything would be fact checked. But one presenter called Alex Phillips, ex-Brexit Party politician, has actually got a slot called Alex's Rant or some such. And the very first proper show, I'd give it 6 months, featuring a foxy, fact-free monologue by Dan Wootton that would have shamed Tucker Carlson. Fact-free monologue. I do not rate Dan Wootton. He said on a couple of occasions that there were boos when the England team took the knee, but never mentioned the applause the players received. That's very true. The boos lasted like 10 seconds. And there were applause. And I've seen videos on the internet of other people in other locations having a beer, watching the game, and there was, them being filmed as the knees were being taken, and they're applauding it. Some people aren't, but some people are. There was a terrible irony in some of the showcase presenters, as far as I could discern, banging on about voices aren't being heard when their microphones weren't working. Good point. Although smarmy, whoever runs sound for GB News needs firing. That's a bit harsh. I got the message, although the constant repetitive line that the BBC, Sky News and ITV are ignoring news that they don't like, the sort of things people outside the metropolitan elite disdain, and it's time to let those opinions have the space they need because people have been silenced for too long. It's a lie. The whole channel is found on false prospectus. That it is there to act as some sort of antidote and balance to other broadcasters who are citadels in groupthink, client journalism, and contemptuous of those who don't conform to the liberal progressive values to which these three answers. If you want to read this, you can go and read it. That's the Independent. I'm not going to sit there and read that whole thing out. But I think there's fair enough points being made there, although it's a bit smarmy. It looks like this guy has got a beef with the existence of this channel and wants it to fail. So, he's going to find that if he looks for it. One thing that I did do was I decided I would try and help them. So I looked at the set that they designed. I decided it was too dark and too miserable, and I thought, right, I'll send to them an alternative. So that's what we got. There's Dan Wootton interviewing some bloke in red trousers wearing a blazer. I don't like the ties and blazers, by the way. Look at it. That's awful. I mean, it's truly awful. Why is it black? Where are they? Are they in a big yellow storage unit? Maybe. So I kind of took that and then did my own design, and that's why I sent that to them. Said, "There you go, fixed it." Now, although what I did probably looks a little bit brighter and a bit better, it's a very, very traditional. Look at it. Suddenly, it's a generic news show. London skyline, wall of monitors in the background. It's just all traditional. It's very difficult to get this sort of stuff right. Very difficult indeed. That horrible little black desk with the slats, the black slats on it. Oh. But that's not a bad attempt. I did that quite quickly. Look, from that, I even exposed their faces a bit. I mean, this is a problem that they had with it. The show was, dimly lit people on black background with microphones that weren't working. I don't know how you can't. I don't know how that happens. They were talking to an open room. There was a lot of live sound. I'll tell you what I mean. It sounds a bit like this. When I'm talking like this, you can hear the reverberations of the whole room that I'm in, because this is a sound deadened room. So that's why I talk in close proximity to the microphone, to cover the fact that I haven't got any sound deadening around me. But in a professional studio, should have lots of sound deadening. But they don't. They have glass everywhere. Glass is terrible. It's just going to bounce the sound around like nuts. By the way, they do have other angles, by the way, so I'm not being entirely fair by showing that shot. They do have shots through glass, and you can see, and it's like dark smoke glass. You can see people working in the background. You don't want it to be too distracting. But what I want to see is daylight. I want to see the UK behind them. And a video wall with a live feed of some countryside would be great. Why not? And it could be a different place. Now, some of the good things I noticed this morning was they went. They had a reporter in a small town in Scotland talking to a couple of guys outside of a rugby pitch, and I just thought, my initial thought was, why are they there? And then I thought about one of my biggest complaints about the mainstream media, and that is that, for example, if they're interviewing a mayor, if they're talking about cities, mayors or whatever, they only ever interview Andy Burnham from Manchester, the mayor of Manchester, or Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London. That's the only two mayors, or him, that they interview. Which is damn boo. Don't what about the mayor of Hull, or the mayor of Dundee, or the mayor of Brighton, or the mayor? Where are these mayors? Why are their voices not important? Why are we only going to these big cities? So city centricity is a huge problem, because most people in the UK don't live in cities, and they live in small towns. And I want to feel. I'm interested to know what's happening in Ipswich. What's going on there? What's happening? I'm fed up of knowing what's happening in London. London doesn't represent Britain no city does in the UK that I can think of. Not my life anyway, unless my life's not relevant and unimportant. and everyone who doesn't live in a city is a bumpkin, and that's kind of like the feeling. I think that we need to get out to the towns and the villages and look. It's so nice seeing G7 down in Cornwall, wasn't it? I thought it was awesome. I felt quite proud about that all these people coming from around the world and seeing Cornwall. That's fantastic. Beautiful Cornwall. Go to Cornwall. Stop buying houses in Cornwall. Let Cornish people have the houses down there in Cornwall. Don't make holiday homes in Cornwall. It kills business. Unless you want to. It's entirely up to you. But in terms of partiality and stuff like that on GB News, I was kind of like thinking that, well, we'll see what happens. They can't be 100% impartial. And there's never been any sort of promise of being impartial. I think they are going to be a generally right-wing leaning station. Although I did notice they had a left-wing voice in there yesterday. I can't remember his name, a young guy, very pro-LGBT rights and stuff. And he was good. I want to hear more of that. I'd like to hear more of like left-wing people getting in there to fight with them. And I hope that that does happen. But a lot of like left-wing activist pundits might not want to go on this show because they feel essentially that it's a right-wing show and that they'd be just helping it spread its propaganda. So I hope that it isn't like that, and I hope that they find their slot and their position, and people start to realize, why I go there. For me, it's a little bit talk radio at the minute. It feels a bit talk radio. Dan Wootton, I think, is just opens his mouth before his brain a little bit, and I don't think he's broad enough. I don't think he's broad-minded enough for the show, but just the fact he doesn't wear a tie and that he is he's clearly their late night entertainment guy, But I am seeing a lot of the same old faces that we saw during lockdown on the YouTube stream from Talk Radio, and Talk Radio is a very anti-lockdown, what else are they anti-mask station. Or certainly that's the general feeling they give you when you switch it on. And Dan Wootton's very much part of that sort of package. He's very much chummy with Darren Grimes and Julie Hartley Brewer and Mike Graham and all those lot. And a few of them have been brought over to GB News. So it's kind of like all that audience will be watching this. I think we have to sort of suck it and see. I hope that the pairing ups they've made work. Very hard to do that. One thing I did want to say, there are diverse voices and diverse faces. The diversity of people in this, and it's really good. And what we haven't had is people being interviewed saying, well, just people flagging that as being something that's important and powerful. When it comes to diversity in front of the camera, it's something you should just do, and you don't have to lecture the audience about the fact that this hasn't happened before. And nobody wants to hear about presenters finding platforms to work their politics upon. You just make your content diverse. You have your diverse faces. You have your diverse shapes and your diverse genders and your diverse whatevers, accents, voices, everything. Just do it. Don't flag it. And that's something that's actually been going on for a long, long time in telly. So we'll see what happens with GB News. I'm kind of watching. Very critical yesterday. I thought it was a disastrous launch. I thought that the guys and the tech teams, I don't think they should be fired, but they should give me a call. I can probably help them sort every single one of their problems through a half-hour phone call. Sort out your resolution that you're broadcasting at because it's low. Sort out your mics and your audio. Teach all your journalists who are roaming around how to use cameras. You can tell there's no lighting on these things. Accidents are bound to happen, and you can't just give cameras to people who don't know what to do with cameras. You can't just say, take the camera down to that pub and interview the landlord, stick it on a tripod and here's a microphone and expect it to be working perfectly. It won't be. Where's your lighting? Who's taught them about daylight and white balance and exposure? And there's all sorts of problems. Even if the camera's really simple to operate, there's just basics understandings of how you cover these things that you can't just learn in a few days. And I think people will learn. 60 million is what they've got, or what they had, to make this. Money has come from various investors. One of the key investors, interestingly, by the way, they've got Simon McCoy, Andrew Doyle, Michelle Dewberry, Tom Harwood, Colin Brazier, Dan Wooten, Isabel Webster, Neil Oliver, Gloria DePiero, Alistair Stewart. It's a cracking, Kirsty Gallagher. It's a cracking cast, if you like. But the money came from, Sky News reported that a chap called Paul Marshall was in talks to invest 10 million. But they actually raised 60 million, which the majority of which came from Discovery. I'm getting this from what's out on there on the internet. An investment firm called Legatum. They recruited 140 staff, including 120 journalists. And they brought the app out last night as well, and the app's great. The website video is not so good. There's no I want to play back shows that they've done, and you can't do that on the website yet, sadly. Or I would have played you Dan Wooten. But I'm intrigued to see what happens. What do you think? Look, that was a 26-minute video talking about GB News. And I know that's long content for YouTube. And I kind of have thought about this. I'm doing this as a live recording, so I can get it out faster. Let me know what you think about that. How are you consuming this? Are you having it on in the background while you do other things? Are you thinking, I'll come back to that later on when I've got more time? Or are you thinking, stuff it, I'm not going to subscribe to that guy. He's rambling on for ages and he needs to edit his videos. I'm interested to get feedback about that. It's hard to produce volume of content if you're spending 3 hours editing everything. And I'm not doing that because I'm lazy. I'm not lazy. I'm doing it this way because it's important to get the stuff out fast. Anyway, tell me what you think about GB News. If you want, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Fludded. And you can, if you like, subscribe. Hit the little bell if you want to get a notification every time I upload a video. And let's get talking down below in the comment section. For now, though, thanks very much for watching. Till the next video. And I think I'm going to go make one about something that's happening in film. Some exciting news about what's coming up in film. But for now, from me, thanks for watching and cheerio.